Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Russ Fisher, Addison Hayes here again, as always, for another time, continuously. I really should just have thesaurus.com open every single show we do this, because I say a lot of words and I could say more. That's the thing. I could say more. We didn't have a spark of inspiration. We didn't have any great, brilliant ideas. So we did quarterback, we did wide receivers, we did running backs. It's tight end time. And this season has turned into a season like every other, where there's like 3 or 4 tight ends you want, and then there's a bunch of tight ends you don't hate.
They're there. They're present.
And then there's a lot of tight ends you hate.
Yes.
Not personally, on your roster in your starting lineup. Come on, don't think like that. Come on, Addison, be better. Ugh.
Sorry.
So, and it's like I suggested 3 tight ends, and they apparently all made the show sheet, which A means I had good ideas, or Addison was just too lazy to think of something else on his own. We'll pretend they were good ideas, because that makes me feel better about myself.
Both.
So let's just jump right in, and we're going to start with the new hotness. You know, Sam LaPorta has been just what we wanted Kyle Pitts to be. You know, like, without the fanfare, without the price, the price is there now, but not draft capital wise in rookie drafts and all of that stuff. So let's just get to the actual trades. In a 12-team Superflex, full 2-point PPR for tight ends, Sam LaPorta straight up for Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is not doing what we want him to. That team isn't what we want them to do. I mean, I don't think Wilson is doing bad, but he's drafted as a top 7-8 Dynasty wide receiver, and he's not scoring that. So clearly we are angry about it. He's wide receiver 24 for 13.5 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
And he has not shown a ceiling whatsoever. Of course, we're back with Zach Wilson and all of that, so that doesn't help. And we'll say the same thing we did last season. It's got to get better next year. Though Aaron Rodgers talking like if the Jets make the playoffs, he's coming back for it, which would be a sight to see. All of that being said, I can't do this. I cannot trade away Garrett Wilson for Sam LaPorta, even in a full extra point PPR. I'm a big Garrett Wilson fan. I believe in the player. He's putting up okay points in a very crap situation again. And we saw the Jets' willingness to change that situation. Hopefully, whoever they bring in next won't pop their Achilles on the second play. I get wanting the points, and you're not suffering age whatsoever. LaPorta's a year younger, and it's a onesie position in a very premium position. Like, I think you should and need to add to LaPorta to get to Garrett Wilson. This is absolutely sour grapes getting rid of Garrett Wilson. Which, if I have LaPorta, I would do this. I would go get Garrett Wilson straight up.
Okay, because that was the next question I was going to ask, because this was actually a comment that I got this morning from our good buddy John, who's always in the comment section, always in the live streams as well, answering questions. But he just wanted to get my opinion on this because he got the offer for a rebuilding team. Would you give away Sam LaPorta for Garrett Wilson in a 2 PPR tight end premium? And my take on it was actually that I would prefer Sam LaPorta over Garrett Wilson because it's 2 PPR tight end premium. That is if you've never played that format, dude, it is so insane what the tight ends are scoring in that. Like, you're talking about the point per game discrepancy between LaPorta and Travis Kelce just in a normal premium.
Yeah.
Add an additional boost on top of that. Like, Travis Kelce is just otherworldly in that format.
Yeah, he's got to be close. Like,
he's probably the number 1 player.
Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, Kelce, and maybe Kelce works his way into that top 3.
Right. But for reference, so Sam LaPorta in this format is scoring 18 fantasy points per game in a 2 PPR tight end premium, which when you compare to wide receivers would make him a top 10 wide receiver in that format. Because you got Tyreek's doing Tyreek things, but then you have a bunch of guys in like the 20-ish range, 20 to 22, like Diggs, Puka, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then you got a whole bunch of other guys that are in like the 16, 17 kind of ish range. And, Garrett Wilson is just all the way down here. Where is he? Can't even find him. I have to scroll down so far. 13 and a half points per game. Yeah. So Sam LaPorta is outscoring Garrett Wilson right now by 4.5 fantasy points. The last argument that I'll make on this side is that a tight end like LaPorta, assuming that he continues his growth, is really hard to find. And you can't just pick these players out of rookie drafts and get them. Whereas there's a Garrett Wilson in every single rookie draft. Right?
Slow your roll. Most rookie drafts.
Most rookie drafts, there is a wide receiver that will go on to be a top 10 dynasty wide receiver, potentially multiple, especially the way that rookie drafts have been for the past couple of years and the way the 24 rookie class is shaping up to be right now too. Like,
yeah, we already have like the dynasty wide receiver 1 coming out, apparently, with the way people are talking.
Top 3 probably for sure. And then you got, the other names behind him also are looking really good. But I mean, like, you even look at this class, like, I know Zay Flowers isn't there yet, but he's shaping up to be. You got Puka just kind of came out of nowhere. I know it's hard to identify some of these players, and you're going to swing and miss on finding another Garrett Wilson, but he himself, I think, is more replaceable in this format than a Sam LaPorta, and at least the way that a LaPorta type player can grow, hopefully, and become. I get that if you were burned by the Evan Ingrams and the Kyle Pittses of the world, and even honestly, maybe Hawkinson for a certain extent before he got traded to Minnesota was burning people as well, who invested after really good year ones and they just never went on to really do much. I get that, but I don't know. I just
So Sam LaPorta finishes the season like he is right now, 16, 17 points per game, around that tight end 4. In a startup draft like this, how early do you think that gets him drafted?
Round 2 in a 2 PPR tight end premium.
Yeah?
Yep.
If that's the case, then I change my answer and you're right, then the answer is LaPorta. If you, again, like I'm doing the best I can with what I know and I don't know enough, so I will absolutely take your word. Then yeah, the answer is LaPorta in that big of a premium. If that's what the value really is. Yeah, for sure. I just really like Garrett Wilson. All right, so the next trade is 12-team Superflex, appearingly no premium. The trade is LaPorta for an early 24 first, and Rashee Rice. Dude gets 5 catches, and he's getting thrown around in trade offers like crazy this week. So LaPorta coming in at 314. Caution, Team B is giving up the highest value asset and the most pieces in the deal. 24 early first in at 491. Rashee Rice in at 71 for a total of 562. Okay, so again, I'm going to have to assume early first does not equal 101.
I checked. That first right now is projecting towards the 101.
And that is a terrible move.
That is an absolutely terrible move if this is Caleb Williams or Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, like it's funny. We're at Bijan level talk, or Trevor Lawrence talk, and all of these guys that are gonna be Saquon and Zeke, all these guys that were first round startup picks as rookies. This is where we are with the 101 and probably the 102 at this point, because like Addison, like I jokingly said, and Addison just kind of very seriously agreed with, there's a chance Marvin Harrison Jr. walks in as the dynasty wide receiver 3. In which case, that's a second round startup. That's intense.
Early second. That's like borderline first round.
Depending on if running backs actually start not dying every week. If the running back resurgence comes back and, Saquon, well, not even Saquon, ETN keeps doing what he's doing, maybe he pushes himself up. But that's, again, right, second round. But let's blanket statement it. We just said, well, Addison just said, in a full 2-point PPR, very good LaPorta ends up in the second round of a startup with 0 premium, just a regular old PPR. That's going to drop him to what, maybe fourth or fifth. Like imagine like drafting Dallas Goedert a year or two ago, or TJ Hawkinson before Vikings. Like so to give up the fact that that might be Caleb or Marvin Harrison Jr. There's in a non-premium, you can't make me care about a tight end that isn't Travis Kelce. I think that's what this comes down to.
So let's remove that aspect of it. Let's say that this is the main reason why I threw this in here was I think it could be a very interesting conversation right now between who would you rather have in Dynasty now, Sam LaPorta or Brock Bowers, which for those of you who don't know, Brock Bowers is the tight end 1 in the 2024 class out of Georgia. He is going to come in and have Kyle Pitts level prospect hype. There are people saying that he is a better prospect than what Kyle Pitts was coming out of Florida a couple years ago. Now, remove everything that we know about Kyle Pitts in the NFL as of right now. Arthur Smith is killing him.
Yeah.
But that is what we're talking about, that level of player at the tight end position. Would you rather have Sam LaPorta, who we are seeing do it right now, or Brock Bowers?
The answer for me is the guy we've seen do it, because I mean, Kyle Pitts maintained value for a very long time. Like even into his second year when he wasn't doing well, he still held his multiple firsts trade value. So Bowers will absolutely have value insulation. Mm-hmm. But why not take the dude we're lumping in the bottom of the first tier of tight ends right now, who's scoring like it right now, and especially not knowing situation, who's going to draft him, like, because no one really comes to mind right now, but like, especially for a tight end, but like
Atlanta.
Fair enough, but like if they do that, then there's problems. But like exactly what happened, like there's a couple of places, like if New England ever drafts a wide receiver, you're just like, oh, well, that was fun while it lasted. It's just too much unknown unless you, again, if we're talking Devy League, where the name is Brock Bowers, we're not talking about a pick. We're talking about the name Brock Bowers versus Sam LaPorta. I would take Sam LaPorta right now. But if we're saying the 103, I think the 103 holds more value than Sam LaPorta does very easily, even though it may very well be Brock Bowers eventually.
That's a fantastic point, I think, right there. Because I think the way that we're framing it, if we're talking about Sam LaPorta just being maybe at worst equivalent to Brock Bowers or slightly behind him, Brock Bowers is going to be a top 5 rookie pick in Superflex, top 3, if not even 102 in one quarterback. So that right there, you just have to readjust how you're valuing Sam LaPorta then in terms of rookie picks, which means that Sam LaPorta could be equal to the 103, 104, which could mean that it's Brock Bowers, but the pick itself holds more value than the player because it could be anybody.
So let's talk Kyle Pitts for a second. His price has gotten manageable compared to what it used to be. It looks like for one reason or another, they're passing the ball more, which is good in general. And while Kyle Pitts has to make some ridiculous catches at times, like contorting his body 180 degrees to make a one-handed catch behind his body, somehow he does it. He's that good. That's why you want him on your team. That's why you drafted him. What are your thoughts? Like, do you like what Kyle Pitts is, what he's doing? Do you think he's someone that finally a competing team would feel good about having him and starting him? Like, are you there for this?
A competing team, I don't think, is still excited to have Kyle Pitts. I think it's even more so the case when you're seeing that his teammate Jonnu Smith is doing exactly the same thing that he's doing.
I'm ready for it. I love Jonnu coming in. I was ready for that athleticism, and the 6-year breakout is a thing. I'm telling you, it helps me with Corey Davis, Devontae Parker, Jerick McKinnon. Like, I'm here for it. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll just wait 3 more years for Kyle Pitts and we'll be good.
Yeah, then we're in, and he'll still be 26. Like,
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I think he's still a guy that I think he has to be in your top 5 or 6 dynasty tight ends just because the dynasty landscape is just awful right now.
Yeah.
But he's definitely a guy that I would explore looking at trades to either upgrade into that Andrews or Hawk level, which I don't know would need all that much to get up into there. Or the first trade that we're going to be talking about here is an example of something that I'd like to do where you kind of trade back and you find a player that is scoring similarly and you can pick up additional assets. Always one of my favorite things to do is trade down.
Oh yeah, for sure. But that's not what this trade is. The first trade, well, I guess if you think Jake Ferguson is a player worth acquiring to put in your starting lineup.
Scoring similarly. I didn't say anything about future dynasty value. I just said scoring similarly.
So the trade we have is 12-team Superflex, Kyle Pitts for a late 24 first and Jake Ferguson. Kyle Pitts at 306, the 24 first at 211, Ferguson at 50 for a total of 261. I get what you're saying, but Jake Ferguson ain't it for this.
Yes, I agree, but I like the spirit of this trade. I do agree that Jake Ferguson is not the player to go down and get to because I think he's just a tier below. So do you have a different tight end that you would like to do this for?
Yeah, like I just pulled up the scoring, and after finally having a nice scoring game, Dalton Kincaid is up to very equal scoring as Ferguson, but holds higher dynasty value for sure. Mm-hmm. Like, so if you were a Dalton Kincaid believer coming in, you know, you just didn't have the opportunity or whatever to draft him in the end of the first. Yeah, Kincaid in the first for Pitts. That's fine. There aren't many options for me in this one, mostly because like Kincaid is really it. The combination of scoring points and having that dynasty value, like I know that Muth is just hurt a lot, but that offense is so bad, and 8 points per game ain't it? Njoku to me is, I'm not there. Like I don't believe he'll be a thing, like a consistent thing. Like yeah, Cole Kmet blanked, but even with that 0, he's at 12.3 points per game. Like Justin Fields comes back and they had a thing going, so maybe that. Yeah, like there's a couple of players I guess I could do this with. But like
you do it for like Musgrave?
Yeah, I saw that name and I kind of skipped over it, but he's keeping himself around there. But like imagine if it's value-wise, like if you can go Pitts for Waller in a first, I would love that.
That'd be insane.
Because Waller isn't really worth a first on his own, so a late first and a second for Pitts is pretty on point. So I think that, like, yeah, like you said, we like it in theory, just not in this execution.
Yes.
All right, the next one is the opposite. It is Kyle Pitts and a late 24 first for Breece Hall. Pitts still at 306, 24 first, still at 211 for a total of 517. Breece Hall at 572. Would you do this?
Yeah, I would. I've been basically valuing Breece Hall as 2 firsts, assuming that neither one of them really are like early. And that's kind of how this trade evens out to be. Like I view Kyle Pitts as a mid first.
Yeah.
And then you're adding in like a late first, like a contender 110 to ideally 112 first round pick. Go get Breece Hall. I think that's a perfect deal, basically, just to go buy a running back that I think is going to be fantastic for the remainder of the year and fantastic for the next 2 years, potentially even 3, with the New York Jets as he further removes himself from his ACL injury on his rookie contract. Hopefully the situation gets improved, like we were talking about earlier with Garrett Wilson. I think as long as you can lose Kyle Pitts, I mean, there really isn't a situation where I think doing this deal to keep Kyle Pitts because you don't have a better option makes sense, because you're still upgrading by getting Breece Hall. You know,
Breece Hall is, you can't really points per game him because of getting worked back in. But just to put it out there, they had, the Jets had their bye this past week, but Breece Hall's past 2 games are 28.4 and 20.3 points. Those are the 2 games where he had the full workload. And we saw last year, it didn't matter what that offense looked like. Breece Hall is scoring points.
Right.
So I'm with you. I do this to go get Breece Hall, and I don't like paying for running backs, but Breece Hall is one of those that I would do it for. So let's talk about Travis Kelce, because like I said in the beginning, you want Travis Kelce in your competing team. It doesn't matter what format, premium or not, super flex or not. I guess that doesn't really affect tight ends in any way. Like, I'm just trying to come up with other formats of anything, but like, regardless, if you want to score points, you want Travis Kelce on your team. It comes down to just how much are you willing to pay to go get those points. And it's a bit hard for me to find that answer to say no. And then, of course, I see this first trade you put up here, and the answer might be no. Because in a 12-team Superflex, someone traded Justin Jefferson and got Travis Kelce, Tony Pollard, and Christian Watson. Value-wise, Kelce, 468, Tony Pollard, 397, Christian Watson, 311 for a total of 1176, Justin Jefferson, 886. So this is what it's supposed to be, overpaying for the better player, the three sides of the one side. It's no, I can't say that, because it's always tough, because we always say if you're losing one player takes you out of contention, then you're really not contending in the first place.
But it's Justin Jefferson.
But it's Justin Jefferson. And like, if you were getting guys that were either A, higher upside, or B, scoring better than Tony Pollard and Christian Watson, I would feel a lot better about this. Like, I traded Justin Jefferson for Bijan and DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if it were like Travis Kelce, DJ Moore doesn't really, just Travis Kelce and DJ Moore doesn't fit there. That's not enough, nearly it. But like, if it were, let's go here, and Tavonta, I would probably do that. I mean, a week ago, Chris Olave, yeah, Steph Diggs. Though you're taking on a lot of age, you're getting a lot of points out of it.
Yeah,
like,
you are.
There's ways to do this again. In theory, I'm okay with this. In execution, I'm just not the biggest fan. But like I said, Travis Kelce gives you the best shot to win this year. And especially if you are seeing what the Vikings are doing and thinking, oh man, they are going to shelve Justin Jefferson because there's no reason to re-aggravate an injury for the rest of this crap season. I don't love it, but I get it.
I'm taking Justin Jefferson in this one. I think this is a brilliant move on the team side that is giving up Kelce and Pollard and Christian Watson.
Yeah, like, imagine doing this on a team you decide to rebuild. You feel great about this.
Like, you're like, oh, like, I thought I was gonna get there, but Kelce missing week 1. I lost in week 1. I lost some other pieces. I'm like 4-3, 3-4.
What you hoped you would. Yeah,
right.
You had Nick Chubb on your team. Like, this is beautiful in that situation.
Let me go get Justin Jefferson.
Let me go get Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. I don't mind it from the Justin Jefferson side either. Like, you know, if your team is really strong and you just, like, if you're one of the teams that had like the Jefferson Chase combo, and then you also had Adam Thielen, and then you have good running backs like a Travis Etienne and, you know, somebody else like that. And Justin, you were just like a super team. And then now you're just continuing to make it a super team by now adding Travis Kelce to the tight end slot. Tony Pollard would be a good RB2 if you had, like, you know, the ETN kind of player, like, as your RB1. Christian Watson could maybe fill in and score you some spike weeks, you know, if he gets there. Losing Justin Jefferson absolutely hurts, but this might be one of those things where, you know, if you push your chips in to go all in for 2023, this isn't a bad way to go about doing it.
Next one we have is Travis Kelce and KJ Osborne. Travis Kelce for Travis Etienne. Can we just say that? Because it's Travis Kelce and KJ Osborne for Travis Etienne in a 24 third.
Somebody needed a bye week fill in for Osborne with Jefferson out.
Yeah, that's really weird. So you go first, I guess, because you're really more the ETN guy than I am. Like, what are your thoughts on pretty much ETN for Kelce?
Yeah, so I think this is, at first glance, you could say this is a really weird trade, because if you're a contender, why would you trade away Travis Kelce for a running back, right? Unless you somehow lucked into like having Mark Andrews or Hawkinson as well. But even then,
that's what flex spots are for.
And you're giving Travis Kelce to probably another contender. I'm assuming if you're buying Kelce, you're also a contender. Yep. So it's kind of like that weird mental state of, I'm helping one of my opponents, you know, my top competition. So from that aspect, I think it's a weird deal. But I was looking at this more from you are that team that thought you had a chance. You still had Travis Kelce, and now you're just kind of throwing in the towel for 2023, looking more towards the future. If that's the case, I think getting Travis Etienne makes sense. I think obviously, you would like to say, well, let's go get a Devonta Smith or some other young wide receiver or something like that. But I think Etienne is still a good asset to go and get.
Even if you're rebuilding, Etienne is a good piece if your team is ready for like next year. Like, because also don't forget, rebuilding doesn't always mean complete teardown. I mean, I like to use the word retooling because it at least like differentiates what you're doing. Like, let's say you don't have your first and you want to like kick the bucket a little bit. Yeah, you trade Travis Kelce because you're worried that Travis Kelce's 43 years old, and if they win again, maybe he retires because he might get that Tay money soon, So, like, yeah, I get it. You're going to like a 22, 23-year-old wide receiver who has 2 more years left on his rookie deal and his just crushing it right now, and you'll be good for next year. So I agree with you. It's not something I would have expected to be pretty cool with, but I'm pretty cool with this.
And it's especially better than a lot of the other deals that I saw. Like if you just type in Travis Kelce's name in the trade finder, you get some disgusting trades, even from the past few days. I mean, we're talking somebody traded away in a super flex league, Sam Howell, Tyler Higbee, and a first for Keenan Allen and Travis Kelce. And then you got Roshan, Marvin Mims, and Khalil Herbert for Travis Kelce, Nick Chubb in a second for Travis Kelce. Like Kelce this one's Jameson Williams in a first. That one kind of makes sense. JSN and Jake Ferguson for Kelce.
So JSN for
Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, and Zach Ertz, who's now hurt, for Travis Kelce. Like if Travis Kelce is not on a clear contender and he's stuck on like a 500 or kind of ish 500 team and you are a contender, I would be trying to see what you could pay to trade away Travis Kelce or to pull Travis Kelce away from that other.
Clearly, don't start insultingly low, but don't throw 2 firsts right away. See what you can get out of it, especially because like once the non-point scoring season hits again,
his value tanks,
and it'll go right back up next year. But for now, you take it. But so that's our tight end talk, and we have a listener league trade. Watcher league trade, viewer league trade. I think I went with WL for Watcher league. 12-team Superflex, tight end premium. Someone got a 25 first for Terry McLaurin. I mean, McLaurin right now is in that like glut of wide receivers that are okay. Points per game. I had wide receiver 27. He's putting up 13 points per game, but he has a spike week of 22.6. Like the Manders offense is up and down depending on if they allow Sam Howell to stand at all that game.
Yes.
Otherwise, like they call hike and he just lays down because that's what's safer for him.
Did you see that stat that Matt Harmon posted on Twitter when he was talking about Jahan Dotson, that Jahan Dotson has fewer receiving yards than Sam Howell has yards lost from sacks?
That's not great, folks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So again, like I really like Terry McLaurin, but I just think there's better things you do with your first. Like, even if it is a 25 first, I get it. It's a year out, so it's not as valuable as a 24 first. I think you can get Pittman for a 25 first. He's younger and scoring more points. Of course, that's very league specific, but like it's just like that kind of player. Like, I mean, Amari Cooper's been on a very weird up and down. That offense has been on a very weird up and down, but you can easily get him for 25 first. You might be able to get DJ Moore for 25 first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, there's just a lot more places I'd rather go than Terry McLaurin.
I mean, I knew Terry McLaurin was an older player, but he's 28 years old.
28. Well, he came in at 24, I think. Like, he came in old.
He just turned 28 like a month ago. I'm looking at like all these ages. He is like 7 months older than Chris Godwin. He's older than Deontay Johnson. You just mentioned Michael Pittman. He's 2 years older than Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, Hollywood, and Jacoby Myers. He's 2 years older than all of them.
Mm-hmm.
3 years older than Brandon Ayuk. Like there are
another name I was about to say. Yeah.
A lot of these wide receivers are all kind of in that whole tier. I mean, I like IU considerably more than all of them. I'm sure probably your league does too. But the other guys, especially, like if you're trading away your 25 first for a 28-year-old, I mean, that's like the same age as Cortland Sutton is right now. And Sutton, I think, is out producing Terry McLaurin currently. But you would never trade a 25 first for Cortland Sutton.
Extremely similar, like less than 0.1 scoring. McLaurin is at 13.171. Cortland Sutton 13.157. 0.014 points per game difference.
Amari is about a year older than Terry McLaurin, to give you a frame of reference for how old Terry McLaurin is compared to other wide receivers.
Well, that's not fair. Cooper came into the league at 8, so
true. I will give you that one. But I mean, it's just I'm not doing this with my first. This is one of those things. I made a whole entire video about this for members, about trading away meh kind of assets on your team for 2025 picks and why you should be doing that. And this is, I think, a perfect example of doing something like that. So sorry to the person that got Terry McLaurin in this, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah. Good for the team that got the first. All right. But on that note, that is the end of the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Russ Fisher, Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes, @AmazHayes_. We'll catch you next time.